pleasure to get to speak on behalf of Chris Corey. He's been a tremendously great representative for our county and for our whole district. He says, "Thank you, Dallesport Community Council, for hosting this forum. I apologize for not being here personally this evening. I'd already committed to hosting an event for Life Choices of Yakima, which serves families in our valley as they navigate unplanned pregnancies. I've had the pleasure of serving as your 14th District State Representative for these past 4 years, alongside my seatmate, Representative Murdock. I have fought hard to stand up for common sense policy that keeps Washington a great place to live and work. These past 2 years have been some of the most challenging for crime and rule of law. In 21, we saw extreme anti-police laws passed by the majority that have hurt communities and increased crime. In 2022, we were able to successfully repeal some of those laws, but we have more work to do in 2023. I'm committed to giving police the tools they need to protect our communities and hold criminals accountable." That was the theme of Chris's speech at Sheriff Saunders' rally as well. COVID exposed flaws in our state's emergency powers. I have led a bipartisan effort to fix unchecked powers and ensure the people have a say in how they are governed in a long-term emergency. While the majority refused to pass meaningful reform, as a foster and an adoptive parent, I have worked to make sure children in state care are placed in supportive homes. I have also been a strong advocate for protecting and supporting our foster parents. I have worked with 9/11 operators to ensure they have had the support needed to deal with mental health challenges. I've worked with parents in the Gorge to create policies that give them more rights in addressing how their kids are cared for and taught in school. When the community of Snowden reached out concerned about broadband access, I went to work connecting the community and providers to create a plan to solve the gap. I will continue to work for you in Olympia. My policy priorities in 2023 include legislation that directs state agencies to rehire employees fired for not getting vaccinated, giving local school districts more autonomy, requiring bonding for renewable energy projects to ensure our cities and counties are protected, and more. I'm looking forward to working with my seatmate, Representative Mosbrucker, to address and fight for issues important to our district. Thank you.
Are you going to give us 5 seconds?
I'm going to give you a 30-second of the 3 minutes. This is the 30 seconds.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. So, would you continue, please? 30 seconds. There is a microphone. You should be able to share the microphone there. Just push the button all the way up.
Yes.
So, good evening. My name is Lorraine Contreras. I'm from Toppenish, Washington, born and raised in the Yakima Valley. I grew up along the Columbia River Gorge. My family was a treaty fishing family, and so I have many wonderful memories growing up in Skamania County and along the Columbia Gorge, and my family still continues to provide for our families in our traditional ways. I'm a Yakima tribal member. I will say that I do not have a political background, and the reason why I chose to run for state representative is because of the work that I do now. I do a lot of the compliance with Department of Energy and cleanup of the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, so I see a lot of details that need to be taken care of, and I do support the fact that the changes that are needed within our rural communities. We need a lot more support of our law enforcement. My background, I was juvenile judge for the Yakima Nation, and so I've worked with the state, including Oregon, to reunify families, and worked with social workers to make sure that the children were being taken care of. As a mother and a grandparent, I've raised 4 children, my husband and I, and we were very active with our kids, making sure that they were able to grow up and have opportunities that we may not have had, in our youth. So that's always been our goal. As state representative, I feel that I can bring a voice to Olympia that would allow for our rural communities to be better represented. We do need a lot of support for families. Inflation affects everybody. I know a lot of families, including myself, that we're pretty much paycheck to paycheck. So I have that deep understanding of what it takes, the hard work and commitment to make, I guess our voice is heard in Olympia, and to work, my goal is to work with both parties. I did file as an independent so that, we can reunify and work together. Thank you.
This is a 30-second. You had 30 more seconds to go.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'll take advantage of that. So again, I thank you all for coming out, and it's the community that you showed up here, and you have interest and concerns within our communities. And if you walk outside and you look at the beautiful Columbia River, it's near and dear to my heart because I have a lot of memories here, with my family, and you don't realize that until you lose your elders. And so, I hold on to that, and I share that with my family, that we need to take care of our communities and, be good citizens and, help one another. So thank you. My time's up.
So just a reminder to the candidates, keep an eye on our sophisticated timekeeping system here. We'll flag you for that. Gina?
Well, thank you. It's always wonderful to be to an event that's close to home. I feel like I live in my office, aka car. So it's so nice to be here right now. I am a Washington State Representative Gina Mossbrecher. I was sworn in 2014 by the great Ross Rako, and it was an honor to do that, and I've been serving ever since. So thank you for allowing me to serve. I'm a 6th generation. It was 5, now it's 6. Generation Klickitat County resident, so this is my home. So welcome if you're not from here, and thank you for being here tonight. My world revolves all around my faith, my family, and my good friends, and my dog, Hero. He is a Belgian Malinois and German Shepherd, and he's my whole world too. So really grateful for animals to help keep calm in this turbulent world we live in. I graduated from Goldendale High School, and I went to Clark College and got my associate's degree, went to University of Washington, got my bachelor's degree, got my CHA, which is a certified hotel administrator for the last 20 years to run hotels. And then also I went to Concord School of Law, and most recently I went to Harvard on a scholarship for certification for state and local government. My favorite quote is to be the change you want to see. So the question tonight that we were supposed to answer was, why are you the best candidate? So I'll share some of the work I've done, and then hopefully you can decide that I am. I am in leadership. So what we have is we have leadership in the House and in the Senate. The last 4 years I've been able to serve in the House of Representatives leadership. Also, I've been ranking member in many committees, most ever since I got there. Most currently, I am now the ranking member for public safety in the House of Representatives, and also assistant ranking in labor and workplace standards, also serve on capital budget, and have served on many leadership roles in business and financial services, and community development, housing, and tribal affairs as well. So capital budget. So one of the great things about being a legislator is you get to fight for those dollars, which are your taxpayer dollars, from Seattle and bring them home to the east side, or to our side over here. So we have had amazing projects, and they've come from you. So many people have said, hey, we need a roof on the senior center, or we need an animal shelter, or we need Lyle Community Center, or we need improvements on lots of different buildings. So this is a full budget year we're going into, 105 days instead of the 60. Really? And we want to make sure that we bring as much home to the east side. I've passed 27 bills since I got there. Again, they're bills that constituents said, you need to fix this. So we've done that. Proud to be a Republican. I always have a Democrat on line too of most every bill I do, because I represent everyone in Washington State. And lastly, I was taught to never look down on people, but always only when I'm trying to reach and help them up. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Renee?
Hello, I'm Renee Campbell, and I've had the honor of serving as your Klickitat County Clerk for the last 9 years. Before I talk about my accomplishments in the clerk's office, I'd like to share a little bit about myself and the journey that has turned me into a career in the Klickitat County court systems. My husband Bill and I were both raised in Klickitat County and have lived in Goldendale for the last 40 years. We raised our 2 children there and have been actively involved in many of the community events. My husband has been a 4-H leader for like 30 plus years. He's still a 4-H archery leader and very active. He also was involved in the Goldendale JCs and helped put on the Demolition Derby and other events, raising scholarship money for the kids. I myself have been a member of the Klickitat County Fair Board, and also currently I am the food preservation superintendent. So as you can see, we've been really actively involved. After I attended college, I started working in East District Court, where I worked for 24 years. 18, I know, is it too close, too far? It's just...
a little bit back.
Okay. And then it feels like it's not there at all. So 24 of those years, would it be better without? Because I can talk. So for 24 years, can everybody hear me? For 24 years, I worked at the East District Court, and 18 of those was as a court administrator. Also during that time, I served as a court commissioner, presiding over matters from the bench under the direction of the judge, presiding judge. And then after my time at East District Court, the position at the clerk's office came open, and I put my name in the hat, and I was appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and I've been doing that for the last 9 years, as stated. Since I've been the county clerk, I've been fiscally responsible, always staying within my budget. I've streamlined office processes, creating workflows to help alleviate emails and things that we were having to do on a daily basis. I currently serve on the Public Trust and Confidence Committee, which is, wow, which is a board that serves the state. And so Klickitat County the Klickitat County Clerk leadership requires persistence, creative problem solving, and knowledge of the laws of the court and the rules, along with a deep commitment to the fundamental principles of justice.
Thank you, Renee. Shelby?
I prefer not to use the mic. Can everyone hear me as well? Fantastic. My name is Shelby McKern. I grew up in Goldendale since about the age of 11. I've gone through the school systems. I graduated from here. I was also the first person to spend a year abroad out of the high school to a foreign country and then come back afterwards and graduate. I moved away for college down in Arkansas for a few years and got my degree in communication studies. And afterwards, I pursued a banking career that wasn't quite what I wanted to do and decided I would move back home to my family here in Klickitat County. And I had the opportunity to work under Renee as a deputy clerk from 2018 until the summer of 2020. And in that time, I found a job that I kind of fell in love with wholeheartedly. I have a passion for justice, and I have an innate sense of anger, or a trigger, I guess you could call it, to injustice that serves people. I don't appreciate when anybody isn't given a fair opportunity to either prove themselves or have the opportunity to defend themselves in some way. So this question was to be what sets us apart from our candidates, and for me, I have a couple of things that I want to focus on. I bring a fresh perspective to the clerk's office, a new perspective that integrates into a digital focus. I'm looking ahead at how we're in a digital age. We will continue to move into a digital age, and we need to keep up with those trends in order to keep our court systems accessible to all of the people within the county. I'm very efficiency-minded. When I came into the clerk's office, there were a lot of processes that we took out some extraneous steps in order to streamline, as well as create new packets or new forms in order to help better educate the public. I was responsible for updating the website and keeping all of our information current in concordance with different RCWs or things that we could post online so that people could be more well informed than if they have to enter the court system completely blank. I'm a highly adaptable and a quick learner. I'm very good at taking large amounts of information and disseminating them to the public in an easy to understand manner. I like being able to go through and research the laws that are affecting the community around us and how those are going to affect the clerk's office and what we can and cannot do anymore by law, but focusing on, instead of what I can't tell you, what is it that I'm operating to tell you? Can I give you more information? Can I give you more resources? And trying to come at it from a, here's what I can help you to get your solution as best as possible. I'm very tech-minded. I work in the IT department, so I stay up to date on all the different technological trends, as well as I know how to implement them into a system. I'm already working on partially a bunch of projects in the county to help create different document management systems that'll work across all of the departments. Excuse me 1 second. Oh, and one of the goals I wanted to make is to have more communication in the clerk's office with other clerks in the state. I want to be able to have the clerks go to other offices and say, here's the processes they're using in their county, and here's how I think that can make ours more efficient. I'm motivated to make the office a better place, and I think I would make a better candidate by healing the environment that's in there right now and repairing a lot of the relationships.
Thank you, Shelby. Garrett?
Is this on? Yes. My name is Garrett Clifford, candidate for Klickitat County Sheriff. I've been a law enforcement officer 19 years. I started off at the Benjamin White Salmon Police Department. I graduated from Columbia High School in White Salmon. Started off at the Benjamin White Salmon Police Department for a few years, transferred over to the Skamania County Sheriff's Office, where I currently am a patrol sergeant. I help manage the K-9 unit, as well as search and rescue, and the property and evidence room as well. Earlier this year, I decided, along with the help of my family and friends, that I was going to run for Klickitat County Sheriff. Sheriff Stonger was retiring. People in the community contacted me and hoped that I would run for sheriff to help better the community. I grew up here, so I want a better law enforcement community. I want to be able to help the community navigate all the new laws that are being created by Washington legislature. What my goal is in becoming sheriff is I want to bring professionalism and integrity to the office of sheriff. My main focus will be training for mental health and leadership training for every deputy. I want it to be a top priority for this agency, whether I'm elected or not. I think it's very important for our deputies and our corrections staff to be leaders in the community, because they're leaders when they're out there on the scene of any call. I want to continue and create a positive working relationship with other government entities, to include the prosecutor's office, to include other departments in Oregon and Washington that the law enforcement works with. I look forward to working with the community to help law enforcement be better in Klickitat County.
Thank you, Garrett. Bob?
Thank you. I better stand up, or you guys might not be able to see me sitting here. Anyway, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it very much. Gives us an opportunity to say what we want. Excuse me. Why are we best qualified? Well, I've got 52 years in law enforcement, 22 years in top management, running big budgets, running a number of personnel, working with the unions, and unfortunately there's times that you have disciplinary matters, internal affairs, and so forth to deal with. Sergeants don't touch them. That is, they may do the initial investigation on the complaint, but The bottom line is the sheriff will have to make the decision on disciplinary action if it's found to be sustained. I've been, like I said, 52 years in business. I've been through the FBI National Academy, the Washington State Police Academy, Nevada State Police Academy. I've got a master's degree in criminal justice, and I've got numerous hours of training in various areas, narcotics, homicides, and so forth. I've done it all over 52 years. The best job I've ever had in my entire career is being your sheriff going on 8 years now. And I want to be your sheriff again for another 4 years. And I tell you why I'm so proud. There's another group of people that feel I'm probably best qualified because they endorsed me. That would be Representative Chris Corey, Representative Gina Mossberger, Senator Jim Honeyford, Congress candidate Joe Kent, Klickitat County Republican Party, Klickitat County Liberty Business Alliance. Yes, they're outside the county. And, but sheriffs work with sheriffs. So that's very important to have that endorsement. In 2022, Law Enforcement Officer of the Year, Klickitat, Yakima County Farm Bureau, Washington State Grange as well. And also President of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, Richard Mack, Sheriff Richard Mack, also gave his endorsement here the other day. Well, it looked like time ran out. I've not been known to make it short anyway. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to serve as your sheriff. And I'm hoping to get another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Lori?
Is that working okay? Right. Okay, Peter. Good evening, and thank you so much, Dallesport, for hosting this. Informed voting is so important. My name is Lori Zoller, and I'm a candidate for Klickitat County Commissioner District 2. As a commissioner, I could bring a broad range of experience and education to the position. For 30 years, I've served in county positions or on volunteer boards to serve the people of this county. Most of my work has centered around land use planning and water resources. Today, and for the past 10 years, I've been a member of the Klickitat County Planning Commission. I have firsthand experience with county budgets, with grants. I have excellent office skills, and I've had facilitation and conflict resolution training. And I'm well known for fighting for people's rights and standing my ground for what is right. As for my personal background, I come from a large family, all involved in timber and agriculture since the time of my great-grandfather. Willing to check out a different horizon, I married into recreation and have run 3 private businesses with my husband Tracy now for over 39 years here in the Gorge. My husband and I are thankful for what we have and where we live. Each year we donate outdoor experiences to handicapped individuals and veterans. Over the years, we've also volunteered at our local churches and schools with our children and now our grandchildren. Law filters down from the top, from the state, from the federal government to the state, from the state to the counties. So every day, county commissioners interact with state and federal agencies. My work on projects such as the Dallesport wastewater treatment plant and the cleanup of the abandoned Klickitat mill site, the decommissioning of Northwestern Lake Dam, and the onset of the Gorge Commission and the Wild and Scenic River programs have taught me all about federal and state departments and their regulations. These projects have also given me a good working relationship with our constituents in Olympia, like Gina. And I appreciate them and how hard they work. One of my favorites about ready to retire is Jim Honeyford, and we will miss him. And I'm proud to be endorsed by him and the Klickitat County Republican Party, as well as the Klickitat County Republican Women and Washington State Farm Bureau. I view Klickitat County as a government of the people. Looking into the future, if elected, I would ensure that we have strong department heads leading their staff with the ideal that public service is their #1 priority. I would reinstitute our valuable citizens review boards and provide more public meetings to make sure all voices are heard for the development of projects and the future plans for this county. We need to work together. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Lori. Matt?
Good evening, everybody. I am Matt DeMalt. I am running for Klickitat County Commissioner. I'm going to start this out. A lot of you have heard me. I am not a politician. I don't have an agenda. Sometimes I wonder why I'm doing this. However, I think about it and I know why. Because I want to represent the people of the county. Give them a good voice. I've been a county resident for 22 years. I've been a volunteer in the county. My wife and I, we volunteer at the fair. We've done that for 22 years. I was a coach in Goldendale for wrestling for 15 years. I did volunteer weightlifting programs to teach the youth. As a matter of fact, I was a little late tonight because one of my ex-athletes has a fundraiser for a kidney transplant he had to do, so it was kind of a balancing act to get here on time. So let's get right to the point. Work experience. I have spent 20 years in the business world down in Portland. In that time, I spent 10 years in international sales where I did negotiations between foreign car companies and our company to try and negotiate a compromise solution to come up that worked for everybody. And working with a solution, working with a compromise is extremely important. If you're representing everybody in the county, not everybody has the same view. But you can work together to come up with something that will work for the majority of the people. After that, I moved on to their national accounts manager where I managed their budgets for multi-million-dollar accounts, managed the people. So I have some work experience behind me. Where I am today, that gave me an opportunity to follow a dream of mine, which was to move to rural America. I love it here in Klickitat County. I was able to buy a farm and become self-employed, and people wonder, crazy person I became, of course you were. People go, why? Well, it allowed me to have flexibility, so I spend time with my family, spend time with my kids, and then volunteer for the community, be part of the community. The other part of that horseshoeing at this point in time is it allows me to see the entire county. I travel all over, and I see the people say, well, you only see the horse people. But I'm going to say, I see the people with hobbies, okay, whether it's a horse, whether it's a boat. I get to talk to those people, not the 20%ers on the fringes, but I get to talk to the people that have jobs, families, so on. And how can I best represent you? I am honest. I have integrity. I am committed to this county, and I have common sense and the strength to stand up for what you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Heather?
Good evening. I'm Heather Joby. Thank you all for giving up your Friday evening to come listen to all of us. I too am a transplant to this community, although my husband does have roots here. We bought property in 2010 and moved full-time in 2012 with that, along with our 3 small children. And I've been actively involved in the community since we got here. I coordinate the Central Klickitat Parks and Rec soccer program. I coach. I've been involved with Awana, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, and I am currently a guardian ad litem for the at-risk youth. I'm a court-appointed guardian ad litem. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in public administration. And I come to this job with 20 plus years of management experience, small business ownership, paralegal and office administration. And one of the things about the auditor's office is I think there's a lot of confusion about what the auditor's office actually does. It's a people and process management job. I have that management experience with people and with processes. And more importantly, I've been in the office for 6 years as the chief deputy auditor. I know the position, I understand the position, I can do the position.
Thank you, Heather. Joanne?
Hey, I'm Joanne Inyard Chambers. I am 4th generation. Grew up on the hardworking Inyard family farm in Centerville, Goldendale area. Again, I grew up here, so I definitely have a lot of friends and family. I was asked by some friends if I would consider running. They know my background, my education and experience background, and they understood that there are some concerns that people have had and people have been discussing. I have an accounting degree, a bachelor's degree in accounting, as well as 28 years law enforcement. I have 30 years experience with forensic investigative and bank auditing, and that is reviewing a lot of different types of records, but also looking at processes to make sure that things flow properly, mainly looking for problems where there would be a hiccup in the accuracy. So I do have experience in coming in and looking at different processes just to judge them and see if there's problems in any direction. So my concern, or my goal, I guess, in this is to have a friendly and efficient office, and to streamline all the processes to make sure that we can, it's better for everybody. It's better for the consumer, it's better for the employees as well. I do know that down in the West End, I have talked to a lot of people in there. A lot of people in this county have gone out of the county to do their business. And, you know, all the revenue that we need, or we have access to, we need. And all those people going out of county, that revenue is going to another county. So I'd like to bring them back, and part of that means maybe a couple days a week opening a satellite office so that people down in the West End can actually get their vehicle licenses done. And if need be, stagger some hours to make sure that the working folks can actually get in, because, you know, not everybody can get to the office at that time. So, and I've been dealing with that as well. So I've got, again, the 28 years law enforcement and over 20 years as a certified fraud examiner, and I've got over 5 years experience as an accountant. So the accounting part is really kind of important. Not only does it help you to understand different records and different record-keeping systems, but it also helps you see the process as a whole and follow it through and look for errors. If there is a problem, finding it and correcting it. And also, I am very good about listening to the folks, especially when it comes to elections. I would like the citizens to be educated on what is the election process, how it works, and to help protect it. And we need to clean up the register. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move into the question stage.
Okay. This will be for all candidates. I guess we'll start on that end and work this way. Name 3 ways you will be accessible to your constituents.
Go ahead.
Well, I think 3 ways that I would be available to the citizens within the 14th district is I would plan to have constant contact. From the moment I filed for my candidacy, I have my email address, and my phone number has been out there for people to call. And one of the main things I think is important is to continue to have an open forum with the communities, and take personal, concerns and, carry that with me to find solutions.
Okay, so 3 minutes was fast, 1 minute is a long faster. Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, great question, and I think it's the way that we do it now, plus. I think there's always new ways to communicate, and those answers usually come from you. We have email, we have our phones. I give out my cell phone, my personal cell phone number, and my legislative cell phone number. I know Sheriff Sonner does that as well, to making sure that you can reach us when you need to. We have staff that work for us at the Capitol. We're very blessed to answer your questions and get back to you, and then brief us daily on what questions are coming up or what concerns we have. Before I go to session, I do a tour through the district, and I ask, what would you like me to work on? Stop, usually hit Yakima, White Salmon, it depends. It used to be Salinas County, but that's going to be gone. And then when I come back, I do a legislative tour update. So I'll repeat it again and go through and answer questions on what happened that session. So, great question.
Okay, thank you. Renee?
The clerk's office, one of those things I was talking about was the court recovery task force, and I was put on during the COVID the task force to help us recover, and I was on the technology committee, and one of the things that became evident was websites were not up to date. So I was on the committee that helped get our websites up to date with information that was pertinent to the public who needed to have that access. Of course, we're in 30 seconds, 1 minute? Okay. Of course, we're always available by phone and by email. We are constantly answering the phone and directing people and sending documents to people through email. Our documents are now available through digital archives, so it's another way that you can actually, reach out to the clerk's office to get your needs accomplished if you're looking for documents. So we're always open 8 to 5 or 4 to 12 to 1, but we're there for you.
Thank you, Shelby.
If I were county clerk, I'd be accessible through any of the office hours. It's an open door policy to just come in and see if we would be available to speak with you. By email to schedule an appointment if it needs to occur outside office hours. I would have a work cell phone that I post a phone number online so people can text message or call if they need to. And then out in the community, I'm an active member at Seminole Community Church, as well as assistant in election, friends mansions around the area, and I love going to accessible at any time.
Thank you. Garrett?
I plan to be a working sheriff. I'm going to be out in the community. As I go into and from Goldendale, I'm going to take calls when I get a chance. I'm going to go out with my patrol staff to make sure that if they need any help, because law enforcement's always looking for deputies. Every agency in the country is short right now. I'll have an open door policy. Anybody can come to the office and talk with me about any issue that involves law enforcement. And I'm going to be out in the community events. That's where people get to come up to you, tell you what's going on. You get to learn about what's going on in that separate community, whether it's on the east side, west side, or in the central.
Thank you. Bob?
1 minute. I was elected in 2014, took office 2015, every Wednesday morning, Click Radio, AM 1400. I give out my cell number to the public. Not the office phone, cell number comes to me personally. In addition to that, I do attend public meetings. And I think if you end up being elected, you're going to find you're going to be real busy. Going around to different public meetings, and I do get out once in a while with the troops, but I have to also tell you that a big job of management is management. $5.2 million budget. All the other things that go along with it. Yes, I get out and patrol occasionally, but my real job as a sheriff is not only management, the top job is to protect your rights and liberties. And as your sheriff, I'll continue to do that. And
Thank you. Thank you. Lori?
Oh, gosh. Jeez. Yeah, I'm off. Oh, gosh. When I decided to run for Klickitat County Commissioner, it was very timely for my life. We had decided to slow our business down. It was my husband's 45th year, so kind of enough is enough of rowing a boat all the time. And I wanted to do something different that I was passionate about. And so we talked about it, and he said, you do it all the time, you better try, you better run. And when we did that, I changed everything up. I retired out of our companies. I have somebody else doing my other jobs now. And our children are all gone, and our house is too big, so I changed. Am I done? Oh, I'll be quick. I changed my downstairs into a private office that everybody's welcome to visit. I have a private phone. I'll use the Klickitat County offices as well as West End District Court offices to visit.
Thank you. Matt?
Okay, I will be accessible by phone in the office, my home phone, emails, and then most important is I will be in the office. Come in and see me. Those are my top 3 ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
As everybody else has stated, office hours, phone, email. But the biggest change I'd like to make is I'd like to get an auditor's office Facebook page. I think one of the weak points of our office is that we don't necessarily get in front of information. We're more reactionary than proactive. I'd like to be more proactive in getting information.
Thank you. Joanne?
Again, even on my brochures, I've got my cell number. Email is always available, and personal with events. You can come in to see me in the office, or when I'm out and about, anywhere, anytime. Have a chat. I don't mind having a chat with people. Tell me your concerns. We can talk about what ideas you have, and you never know where a good idea is going to come from. But your concerns are my concerns. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for Lorene and Gina. What will you do to promote growth in the Dallesport Peninsula?
I think one of the things I would do first is connect with, the community groups such as, your group, to reach out to the community members. I know, going forward, there's a lot of changes coming up that we need to take notice of and start working towards. I know, there's, the electric cars that they're wanting us to, move into and go away from, gas-fueled cars. So that is a huge task. And so I think going forward, in our rural communities, that's something that I feel I can help lead in some aspect. I just returned from Washington, D.C. last night, and that was one of the topics that was on the Clean Energy Summit that I attended. So I feel that, in that arena, I can help with moving forward in our communities to work towards that goal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gina?
Well, I think, again, it's just a matter of communication, just really listening to the people who live here. I would hold a town hall, a session to talk about what people want, what people don't want in the area, and then we would move forward with that. I think that the building and housing is a big challenge, not only in Washington State, but across the nation. And part of that is because there's so many restrictions on building. So we're working on that with the state legislature, but just trying to figure out what dollars are also available. So once you tell me what you want or don't want, then it's my job to search for grants and ways to pay for it from the federal government, state government, and even county commissioners.
Thank you. And a reminder that there's a 30-second spot that's available for a candidate who wishes to respond to something that somebody else said, if you choose to do so. Next question.
Also, this would be for the Legislative District 14 contestants. How do you plan to make sure your constituents in rural counties like ours are fairly represented when everything is dominated by Seattle and Vancouver?
Exactly. That is part of the reason why I threw my name in the hat to run. I feel that our communities are grossly underrepresented. And I think that I can bridge the communication between all parties to work towards solutions. I think that I have the time and the commitment and the energy to field, the concerns from our community as citizens to work towards the goals that, are going forth within our communities.
Thank you, Gina.
Great question, and that's been a battle for the last 8 years. It's a fun battle, and we keep trying to pull everything to this side while they're trying to keep it on that side. So again, just trying to make sure that we have capital budget projects, for example. We've got some from Yakima, Klickitat County, Union County. We've made that progress. It's not as much as we want, but just being vocal, just being loud and hearing what you want down here and trying to figure out a way to get country and conservative family values in Olympia is an ongoing challenge, but definitely one we're up for the fight for.
Okay, next question.
Okay, this is for the sheriff candidates for jury. Klickitat County has had active sheriff's posses for many years. What role do you see them playing for your administration for the next term?
Is anybody hearing the questions, by the way, back there?
No.
You want that one?
Question for the sheriffs. Candidates. Klickitat County has had an active sheriff's posse for many years. What role do you see them playing for your administration for the next term?
I see a lot of the sheriff posse doing a lot of good things. And so I plan to continue that program. I want to make sure it's managed correctly. I want to make sure it's guided by someone who's in charge of it. As sheriff, I don't feel like I need to personally be in charge of the volunteer program, but I need someone that I trust that can manage it. And so that's what I plan to do. I plan to implement a volunteer coordinator so that they are in charge of it. But I want any member of the posse, or any, and for that matter, any volunteer member, to be able to be trained in what they're doing.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, if Mr. Clifford had done a little research with the posse, he would see that they're trained every month. Every month they go through training. The posse is a community policing program. Last year alone, donated enough hours, $521,000 to the county commissioners in wages. Now, you know how much the county kicks in? $20,000. Real big of them, right? Seeing as how much money in return they get in volunteer help. I'm telling you, the posse is a professional community policing program, and I'd invite Mr. Clifford to attend that and go over our policies and really see what's happening.
Thank you. Next question.
This will be for both sheriff candidates. Klickitat County sheriff candidates, when you take the oath of office, you have to swear to uphold all laws of the state. Do both candidates abide by the rule of law on all matters?
Bob, why don't you go ahead and start with this time?
Good question. Yes, you do take an oath of office to enforce the laws. You also, part of that, is to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Washington State Constitution. Any law that violates the Constitution is a bad law, and the sheriff is not required to enforce it. And I will not enforce bad laws and violate citizens' constitutional rights and liberties.
Sure. And actually, could you repeat the question, please?
Okay, the question is, Klickitat County sheriff candidates, when you take the oath of office, you have to swear to uphold all laws of the state. Do both candidates abide by the rule of law on all matters?
As a sheriff or a deputy or law enforcement in the state of Washington, you must you take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the Washington State Constitution, and the laws of the state. The sheriff and deputies are also given authority to use discretion. And so every law should complement the Constitution. It's not our job to interpret the Constitution, it's the court's job to interpret the Constitution. My job is to protect people's rights and enforce the laws in the state, but use discretion when it needs to be used.
I'm going to follow up on that because I'm a little. The question seems a little fuzzy to me. Let me just ask you to briefly, each of you, address a follow-up to that, which is, what do you consider to be the rule of law? That's the part that sounds a little fuzzy to me. Go ahead, Bob.
If I'm reviewing, if I understood it right, the rule of law, the way the gentleman asked the question, is any RCW that's passed by the state legislature. Okay? That's the way I took it. If that law is in conflict with the United States Constitution or the Washington State Constitution, it's a bad law. That's like Governor Inslee coming out with his mandates. They were not laws, they were mandates. And in my humble opinion, was unconstitutional. Mandatory masks, mandatory shots, and so forth. But not enforced.
Thank you, Gary.
What was your follow-up question?
What does the rule of law, what is that term, how would you interpret that term?
Yeah, I mean, the rule of law is what the legislature brings down, what they submit. The governor's mandates they're not issued by the legislature. They're not laws created by the legislature. So the rule of law I would consider is the Constitution of both the United States and the Washington State, as well as the revised Code of Washington that's passed by the legislature.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
This is for the sheriff's candidates. The primary role of a county sheriff is public safety. Does weighing in on national partisan debates enhance or detract from that role?
I feel it can detract from that role, but you should be privy to the information that's going on around the county, but also around the state and around the country and possibly around the world. You need to be cognizant of what's going on so that you can make the best decisions when you're enforcing the laws issued by the state, but then protecting people's rights with the Constitution.
You did pretty good on that. Bottom line is, yes, you're going to read the question, please.
The primary role of a county sheriff is public safety. Does weighing in on national partisan debates enhance or detract from that role?
Well, that just depends on what the debate's all about. If it affects law enforcement statewide, and that's why we have a Washington State Association of Sheriffs, you're going to get involved in some conflicts or some interest in regards to the Constitution or the debate on the law. I think where that's coming from, whoever asked it, yes, I've been on a number of campaign shows with Sheriff Richard Mack, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and other TV shows stating the reasons you are a constitutional sheriff. Your primary job is to protect your constitutional and liberties against overrun of government or bad guys who are violating your rights.
Thank you. Next question.
This next question is for the county commissioner candidates. The Mountain View Estate subdivision, Greg Wallace property between 6th and 3rd Avenues, is currently plotted as 26 lots. Do you support any further subdivision of this property that would result in more than 26 single-family homes?
Matt.
Would you start with that?
Me? Well, I'm going to start out and say I'm not familiar with what the code is in those particular lots. If the property owner has it and the property manager or the property laws say that you can subdivide it more, then that's what the county has said you can do. We have to follow the county regulations as far as subdivisions and property management, but you also have to follow the property owner's rights and make sure that you can and make sure that you are not infringing upon their rights as well. So.
Yes, and I would depend on our planning commission to review those applications. And Matt is right. If it's the landowner's right to develop, then that needs to go through the processes, and we have those applications in those departments to tell the commissioners whether or not we should sign off on that. And it would also depend on their water resources and infrastructure if they can provide those.
Okay, thank you. Next.
This is another question for the county commissioners. Do you plan to enforce zoning laws? As an example, there is a large warehouse being built right now in the middle of R1 houses in Dallesport.
Well, again, it would depend on the planning department. They're the ones with the wherewithal and the information within the planning department to take a look at those applications and see what zone they're in and what fits in that zone. You can do things through Board of Adjustment and change some things, but during that time, you also have public input. You can come in and tell the Board of Adjustment, or you can tell the Planning Commission during those hearings how your community feels about that, how that fits or doesn't fit. So there is a chance to push back.
So, and the question was, will you plan to uphold zoning? How does that work at the beginning of that question?
In the beginning of it, it says, do you plan to enforce zoning laws?
So the bottom line to that question is,
Yes, and I would enforce zoning laws, but there are caveats with that through Board of Adjustment and some other places, zoning does have tweaks that you can do, other approvable items, rather than just the flat line, no, you can't do this. Sometimes you can put other things in.
okay. We'll give you the same amount of time, Matt, to respond to that.
I don't know that it'll take that long, because I truly believe in enforcing the zoning laws. That's what we have out there. There are ways to appeal, and if you can appeal something and get something changed, great. But if it is a law on the books, as far as land use, that's what we follow as a commissioner.
Thank you.
Next question.
Next question, for both county commissioner candidates. Are you a supporter of the proposed county park at 6th and D in Dallesport? And what will you do to make this happen?
Me? I am an absolute supporter of the park. Parks are great. My understanding is the land was donated. The other part of that is to develop the park. I understand there's also a community entity that is raising money to develop this park. I would like to see, as a county, what we can do to enhance that, help them out, and get it done. Of course, as county commissioners, we have a budget, so it's something that could be worked on down the road if that's what we needed to do, but it needs to be done. It's been sitting there forever. It needs to be done.
So I have to commend the Community Council of Dallesport. I've seen your plan. It's a big undertaking, but you've done well, and you've all came together to decide what you wanted to do with that property. And it's going to be a great asset for everything you're offering on that farm. How the county can help is we can help look for grant fundings or other fundings to help you accomplish that.
Okay, next question. Can everybody hear back there still?
No. Oh, to answer?
The answer, I meant. Go ahead, we'll go ahead.
This is a question for the auditor candidates. The Dallesport Water District employees are never paid on time, although it is always submitted early. Will you change this?
The policy is that the invoices have to be submitted by the Sunday prior to issuance. They're issued on Thursdays and mailed out on Thursdays. If there's a problem with them being received on time, I'm happy to talk about what that process looks like, but they're paid along with all of the other junior taxing districts.
Okay. I don't normally use mics. I'm usually pretty loud. Any processes, especially payroll, dealing with that is an ongoing process that needs to kind of be streamlined separate. And if there is a glitch in paperwork not getting processed, then I do think that needs to be kind of on a fast track, but also be provided to the auditor's office in a timely manner.
Thank you. Next question.
Next question is also for Heather and Joanne. Describe the functions of your auditor's office for which you have experience. Describe the functions of your auditor's office for which you have experience.
The auditor's office has actually got quite a few different areas that it covers. The processes, I have been reviewing the processes. I actually downloaded and received by electronic version all the processes in the auditor's office. So the auditor's office itself, every department or selection, you have the election and they have their processes that they follow. You have the accounting and they're following the payroll and different things, which I believe a lot of Public Works is handling some of that as well. The Department of Licensing. And anyway, so the process is I have been reviewing all of the policy and procedures for the auditor's office and in all the directions.
Let me follow up. So the question is, if I understand it correctly, is that they're looking for a match between your background and the specific processes? Is that correct?
I have not worked in the county auditor's office.
The question was written, okay, and I'll try to read this so you can understand it. It says, describe the functions of the auditor's office for which you have experience.
So it sounds like it's
Well, I've not worked in it, so I can't claim experience in it.
So I have experience in all of them. I've done licensing, I've done recording, I'm a certified elections administrator, I've processed payroll, processed AP, participated in the filing of the annual report, and am involved with the Indigent Veterans Fund.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for Eric, Bob, Lori, and Matt. Do you support keeping a posse in the county budget?
Start with Bob.
Just a quick. Absolutely support it. In fact, I'd like to see them increase it from 20,000 to 40,000 for the posse budget. They're getting over $500,000 a year in volunteer time if they had to pay for it. We have 7 pilots apply for it at no cost to the taxpayers. We have 7 hound handlers, not team, hound handlers, and they rotate if we can get a hold of one for a cougar problem. By the way, we just had a call, cougar was on the guy's front porch the other morning. On porch. Anyway, yes, I support the commissioners getting more involved in supporting this volunteer group that is well qualified and trained. And like I say, I invite anybody to attend one of our posse meetings. Watch what's going on, the training. Yep.
Thank you. Garrett, and then we'll have a Lori and then Matt.
Yeah, I support funding for the posse. It helps the community. I see that it helps the community. I just want to make sure it's in the right direction. I want to make sure that that training is the right training for what they're doing.
Yeah, I sat in on the 2023 budget proposals, and I do see that the sheriff had his $20,000 line item in there for the posse. I do believe it's necessary, and when it continues, I believe that we'll have to have a talk about future funding with the next sheriff who was ever there about budgets, and I think it's a good idea to increase that for him. Thank you.
I also support the posse budget. I am a very fiscally conservative person, and if you put the numbers out in front of you, if you're receiving $500,000 for a $20,000 investment, that's a darn good investment, okay? And that's really how I look at things monetarily. Of course, again, spend $20,000 to receive $50,000 or $500,000 in benefits, that's a good thing. I will support it.
Next question.
And the next question would be for Maureen and Gina. How do you plan to work toward bringing people together in a very paralyzed political environment?
Paralyzed or polarized?
Now, maybe it's polarized, but it looks like paralyzed.
Doesn't matter.
Same difference. Wait.
Same difference is right. It's not on.
Sound check? There we go. I think I'll answer the polarized one. So that's what we do, right? I mean, I represent everyone in Washington State. Again, I've passed numerous bills successfully with the help of amazing staff at the Capitol and your help for testifying, those of you that have testified on many great bills to help make the world a better place. Again, I reach out across the aisle. I'm a proud Republican. If a Democrat hates my bill, it might not be a good bill, often. So what we do is we work together, have stakeholder groups, and try to find agreement. We go forward, and you can't function in the minority without working together. And that's what we're meant to do anyway in this world, to help each other. So it's what I do, and it's what I'll continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorraine?
Well, that's exactly why I'm running for this position, is because I feel that I can contribute to bringing the solutions together at a table and working through, the logistics of any of the issues that are brought forward. It's been interesting so far. I have not received any negative, backlash or anything so far. So I think that it's doable to, bring solutions together, and you may not always be happy. You're not going to make everyone happy, but you have to be able to work together and find a solution that's going to work for, the better of our communities.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for Gina and Lorraine. Do you support the gas tax?
No. You can look at my voting record. Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. We had $15 billion, that's with a B, dollars in surplus when we left session last time, and every penny was spent by the majority party. And there was no reason whatsoever that you should have seen any gas increases. You can go to the archives at the Capitol and you can watch us fighting at 3 a.m., 6 a.m. from the night before, not sleeping yet, fighting gas tax. So the answer is very simple, it's no.
I also do not, support the gas tax. It's ridiculous, the amounts that we're having to pay right now, and that's one of the big problems that we need to address. On the west side, it's like there's a breakdown when once you cross the Cascades, and I think that's why we're here. That's why we're all sitting in this room together, is because we want to find these solutions and make it fair for everyone. And I myself, I don't appreciate having to put $150 in my tank, just to get to work. And so I think that there's a better way to do things, and that's exactly why I'm here tonight, is to help find that solution.
Do I recall correctly that the tax as of January 1 is another 62 cents, something like that? 62 cents? That's the same. You said off the record. Go ahead, next question.
Okay, the next question is for the county commissioner candidates. Would you recognize the authority of the community council in a dispute between a community council and the board of county commissioners?
I'd always want to honor the citizens of their community and what they have to say through their community council. And I know community councils are community councils because you're unincorporated. And I know that's been kind of a sticking point ever since they were created, where the authority lies in that. And so you actually end up having the board of commissioners being your authoritative people oversight. I would fight my hardest to honor and bring my constituents along with me to honor what the people of your community want.
All right, community councils, you have to respect their authority and their decisions, okay? Ultimately, county commissioners have the authority over the county, but you can't go in and run roughshod over a community. What you need to do at that point is sit down and negotiate and talk to the people. See if there's some way you can work on some sort of an agreement that works for the county and works for the community.
Okay, next question, please.
Candidates. The Board of County Commissioners has not always been the friend of our residential community. Special interests of developers, mining interests, and corporate proposals have often come first. Our community wants to elect those who will represent the livable health and safety of voters who actually live here. Tell us why you are that person and be specific.
Let's start at
This end of the table, just to change things up.
Okay, so, can you read that again?
The Board of County Commissioners has not always been the friends of our residential community. Special interests of developers, mining interests, and corporate proposals have often come first. Our community wants to elect those who will represent livable health and safety of the voters who actually live here. Tell us why you are that person.
And that's specifically directed to all candidates.
Says all candidates.
Okay, well, the auditor's office itself doesn't necessarily have a decision to make in that respect. However, personally, I do think that it's the people and what you can't come into their area and just demand to put into their backyard matters to these people. And somebody over in Spain doesn't give a rip. So I am for the people here, the community here, and when anything involving outdoor, or I should say exterior commercial business, if it comes here, I think that they should pay their fair share in taxes if the community wants them in.
The auditor's office does not set policy. We follow rules. So I'm not sure that we would have any influence. However, I think if all of your electeds have good working relationships, communication, opinions, shared ideas can go a long way.
I'm sorry, I just have a tough time talking to Mike, so I'll just talk loud. But, as I said in my beginning speech, I am not a politician. I don't have an agenda. I'm here, the reason I'm doing this is to represent the people, the people's interests in these communities. People first. Those are the people that pay your taxes. We are the people that live here. There are outside people that come in, but it has to fit our county. Whatever it is we do, we need to fit it within our county. But the first thing first is we represent the people and the people's interests.
I agree.
Mike.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, we need to listen to our communities. And, Dallasport's in that unique place just like the rest of our county is. We're in a transition. We're changing, all of us, across our whole county. And so it's going to take those negotiations and sit down and what do we want to see long range. And I'm a big fan of our comprehensive plan. We're behind on that. We need to get going, and that's going to make a big difference for all of our future because you're going to be able to work within that comprehensive plan and work together and send that up to the county to say what you want your community to look like.
Well, that hits right on point. That's why you need a constitutional sheriff. Absolutely. Every one of these people up here running for office take a sworn oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Washington. And the primary job of an elected official, whether it's a sheriff, it lays largely with the sheriff, primary job is public safety and looking out for the citizens' rights. So given that, it's a pretty easy answer. Constitutional sheriff. Thank you.
As an elected official, you work for the people, just like other elected officials, but you have to work with the other elected officials and the community. So if someone's having a problem with the commissioners and it involves the law enforcement, then you have to go to the commissioner's office and work with them. But encourage that citizen to go contact the commissioners so that they know what's the issue. Also go to the community council meetings. If the commissioners aren't in agreement with you, that's when you vote them out of office.
Minute to
Go
Go ahead, John. It was for all candidates, right?
We want to get rid of them.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Gary is absolutely correct. You try to work with all the elected officials. However, if you have elected officials that are doing bad things, your job as sheriff is to investigate it, and if it shows to be a crime, you present it to the prosecutor for prosecution. No elected official, including Bob Sumter, is above the law, period. And my job as your sheriff is to investigate any wrongdoing.
Okay, Shelby.
Can we have a repeat of the question since it's been 7 candidates?
The Board of County Commissioners has not always been the friends of our residential community. Special interests of developers, minor interests, and corporate proposals have often come first. Our community wants to elect those who will represent livable health and safety of the voters who actually live here. Tell us why you are that person.
So the court system doesn't necessarily have a place in this, or at least the clerk doesn't in regards to the court system. The county clerk is the gateway to the superior court system for Klickitat County, and what the basis of that is impartial neutrality for everybody that comes through the court system. Everyone is equal when you come through the court system and seek of justice. You're treated the same if you're an attorney or if you're representing yourself as a pro se litigant. What I want to do then is I want to provide more accessibility to all of the people who are trying to get through the system.
So the clerk is a neutral party. We are to treat everybody the same. And many times an appeal that would come through, so if there was a hearing, then there would be an administrative law review that would then be a filing within the clerk's office. So the clerk's office cannot get involved in any kind of arguments or things that is happening. So the clerk, like Shelby said, has to remain neutral, so we can't take a stand on an issue like that.
Well, thank you for the question. And decisions should always be made closest to the people. That's why I prefer state government over federal government, because we're really happy when they turn it over to the states. It gets you closer to those decisions that have people who actually are affected by it closely. As far as public safety, when we run away from danger and hide, law enforcement is running and risking their lives. So we have to do everything we can to support law enforcement and make sure we have safe communities. Without safe communities, nothing else matters. Education, healthcare, taxes, we just have to be safe. So thank you for the question.
I believe that, with the concerns that are brought up within any arena, especially, with like county commissioners, I've had 36 years of working with our Yakima Tribal Council. There's politics everywhere. When citizens are concerned about, things that are happening in your community, there's always a way to find an answer and find a solution. And, a lot of times it takes one person standing alone. And, my belief is, the saying that Martin Luther King said, if there's injustice anywhere, there's injustice everywhere. So I believe that, with the opportunity being given for me to represent in this capacity, that, I would be able to hear the concerns going forward and help find solutions and, bring together a fair and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, please.
Next question is for the county commissioner candidates. The bond for the Dallesport wastewater treatment plant will be paid off this year. What do you see as the best solution for future ownership and operation of this system?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and stand up and say I don't know enough about this particular subject to talk intelligently on it. If the bond is going to be paid off, that's great. It's something that I would have to research, and I'm willing to do that. However, I haven't done it to this point, so honestly, I just don't know.
I have said
Mike?
I thought my voice carried.
So I have set, nope, is it there? Okay. I have set in on the Dallesport wastewater treatment plant meetings, and I came to a couple of the meetings down here. I know it's a passionate subject. I think negotiations are moving forward, and I think you're doing a good job of expressing what your community would like to see and have. My advice is be very, very careful of what you wish for, and make sure that you understand what all the ramifications are in the end and what you'll have to pay for.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
This is for the county commissioner candidates. Why will the county not provide Wi-Fi at the community center?
Lori?
I hear about Wi-Fi and broadband connections at the county all the time in all the different meetings. I think they are working their way through. I even was up at Trout Lake one evening and heard it in their community where they're still having trouble getting connected, even though they got some sort of system in already. So the county is moving through the processes and getting forward and getting communities hooked up. What I'd advise is, and I'll probably be sorry for saying this if I get elected, but be the squeaky wheel and make sure they remember you need it.
Okay, Wi-Fi and cell service in this county, because I travel this county from one side to the other, I know how limited our cell service is, our Wi-Fi service is. It's something that in the very beginning, as one of the agendas I would have, I guess if I had an agenda, would be to work on our infrastructure for our Wi-Fi and cell towers. As far as putting Wi-Fi into a community center, I don't know why it's not done. Yeah. Well, again, we get questions, and it's something that until I do the research, I can't answer you. If you want me to do the research, I'll find out and tell you. But I don't know why it hasn't been done. But it's something that certainly could be done.
Thank you. Next question.
Next question is for Sheriff Songer. Who awarded you the Klickitat County Law Enforcement Officer of the Year? Yeah, it says who.
Klickitat County Constitutional Sheriff of the Year was by Richard Mack, Sheriff, out of Mesa, Arizona. Oh, by the way, I'm a lifetime member of the Constitutional Sheriff's Peace Officers Association, and proud of it.
Thank you.
Next question, please.
This is for Laura and Gina. Do you support the governor's continuing emergency?
No. So the state of emergency is supposed to end on Halloween. We're going to see if that happens. And ironically, it's right when the ballots come out. So we're a little skeptical about what will happen after the election before we go back to session. To be perfectly honest, we're hoping there's not another reason that we can't meet in person in the people's house.
I do not support, the governor's emergency, only because of the fact that, myself and I imagine many of the community members here, it's like we've more or less, we wouldn't be in this building tonight, if we weren't, going forward in our lives. And I think that there's been a lot of concern from both sides, but also, myself, my personal opinion and my thoughts are that we need to, be able to, handle our own affairs. And I think that's, again, why, I put my name in the hat to run, because there's a lot of issues and concerns that I have that I feel that I can address at the state level. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
The next question is also for Gina and Maureen. What will you do to restore the river people's losses from the BPA?
Well, coming from my family's, ancestry, our people, the Yakima people, and citizens along the Columbia River have constantly given up and sacrificed. And I feel that along the way we've acclimated to continue to live our lives and to go forward. And the main thing that I'm concerned about is the respect of our land and our water. The Columbia Gorge is such a beautiful area. We need to protect it and maintaining the integrity of the beauty of this land. So I feel that we've sacrificed enough.
Thank you for the. Thank you. Sound check. I think your battery's going dead. I thank you for that question. And again, I think for me, it comes down to I've been here most of my life, and there's nothing better than coming over the hill from Goldendale, coming down into the gorge, and seeing this beautiful valley. And for me, it comes down to maintaining the beauty, and it comes down to integrity. So all you have is your word in this world, and if we promised and removed families from their home areas, just like if you or I were removed from ours and our way of life, then there should be reparations for that. And if we said we're going to do it, we need to follow through. And it may be difficult, but it was more difficult for them to move with their families.
Thank you. Next question.
We have an upcoming comprehensive plan update. How would you work with the community councils, as we will not be receptive to help outside?
Who is this for?
For the county commissioners, candidate.
Can you repeat it, please?
Right, we have an upcoming comprehensive plan update. How would you work with the community council, as we will not be receptive to help outside our community?
It doesn't make sense.
One more time, please.
One more time. Well, it's kind of a combination of three questions. We have
I think I understand.
upcoming comprehensive plan update.
Correct.
How would you work with the community councils? We will not be receptive to help outside our community.
When we've done plans like this before with the community councils, a lot of times the county will hire an independent firm to come in and work with them to put together their plan. And if you're saying your community won't be receptive to that outside help, helping you put that plan together, then the county commissioners would have to work with you to make sure you have some sort of facilitation and a way to put that plan together that you can submit it to the county commissioners so we could review it and make it part of a meaningful part of that comprehensive plan update. So we ensure that you include all the products in it. Some of it's technical things too, and so sometimes you do need outside help at the table.
I think I understand the question a little bit better after your response. Anyway, using outside sources, I understand that. However, I also believe that nobody knows our county better than we do. I believe we have an awful lot of educated people within the county that we can put together and come up with a solution. Use some of these outside as input, but not as the contract, for example, or the comprehensive plan. Just simply the input to maybe understand, like Lori said, maybe some of the infrastructure or some of the rules and regulations. But it needs to be based on our community when we do a comprehensive plan, not outside sources.
Next question, please.
The next question would be for Mr. Clifford. If the governor ordered us, the citizens of the state, to turn in all magazines that hold 10 bullets or more, would you enforce this law?
Absolutely not, because it wouldn't be a law. I guess it would be a statement or some type of order, but that's against the Constitution.
Next question, please.
This is for the county commissioners. What can you do to support Dallesport growth, water systems, and sewer systems? Also get the Dalles Regional Airport to sign off on our completed contract.
Who'd like to go first?
Okay. These are some pretty loaded questions. But, again, the truth of this is there's a lot of research that needs to go into this. These are projects that our commissioners have been working on for a long time. In my opinion, they should have already been resolved. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done to do the research to find out the proper solution for it. As far as building infrastructure, we need to figure out what Dallesport wants for infrastructure growth. It's not a commissioner's choice. We need to talk to you guys and figure out what you want and what we can do as far as the capabilities within the area.
All right.
You're gonna think your name's Mike after this.
You know, the past few years, a lot of things have been missing with COVID and all the shutdowns and different things. And I think a lot of that has happened at the county too. There's been a lot of meetings we've missed, a lot of organization that's gone to the side. And I'd like to see the Economic Development Department get back down to ground basics and start working again directly with the communities and helping you move forward with your plans.
Next question, please.
And the next question again is for Gina and Maureen. How can you help protect the environment without infringing on personal landowner rights?
So read that one more time. So protect the environment without infringing on
personal landowner rights.
Well, I think as a Republican, we believe in property rights. And at the same time, we all want clean air to breathe. So the question's a little confusing to me. I think, I'm not sure actually how to answer that. I think, the environment's it comes down to the cars that, we're going to have gas-powered cars gone and electric cars. So, yeah, I'm not sure on that one, actually. I'm a property rights person. I believe you should be able to do what you want with your own land. So. Good luck.
Well, the environment is what provides for all of our livelihoods. Without, the water, the Columbia River, the earth, all of the natural resources that we have, it's very important to protect our environment. Understanding, that we all have, land and property. I feel it's important to, abide by the laws that have been set in place. And if, we need to take a look at, revision, there's always room for improvement. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Next question, please.
This is for the community, the council member. I want to go back to the comprehensive plan because we had 3 similar questions and I kind of tried to combine them. But this one I want to read because it may clarify. We have an upcoming comprehensive plan update. On our last update, our plan was kidnapped. The final plan was not presented. A rough draft was delivered by a local miner. Keith Arndt on the planning board belittled the rough draft. They tossed it and did their own. Now we hear that Jake and Lori will try to appoint Dave Souter to help us. We do not need out-of-community help. What do you say?
I've heard this before too, and I can honestly tell you David Sauter is retiring. He has said nothing to me about wanting to come back and work at the county helping with conservation. They've asked if I would appoint him to this. He's not said he wants to come back and work in any type of that situation. I'm aware of what happened with that comprehensive plan hijacking, and I think we could do a better job on it next go round, and we'll be more aware.
Okay, I'm aware of the hijacking also, and I believe that if we take a stronger stance and not let it, my position is in this commissioner's role, we need to be strong and not let this happen, because we let it happen. You can't, you have to be in control of the commissioner's office when these things come through. So it would simply be my position that we work hard, come up with a comprehensive plan, keep it within the community, and get it done, because it needs to be done now.
Thank you. Next question.
The next question is for Sheriff Songer. Why is the sheriff carrying a gun?
Well, that's a good question. You're a friendly crowd. But I can tell you there are some not so friendly to me out there. So, no, I believe in the Second Amendment, and as a law enforcement officer, I carry a gun and train with it. So, and I hope you all are Second Amendment people as well. Did that answer the question?
Thank you. Next question.
This is for Gina and Lorraine. Do you believe the COVID restrictions were constitutional?
I do not. I think that they were mandates, as was spoken before very eloquently, and that it was the governor's decision to make that decision without the legislature, and as a legislator, that's extremely frustrating. Once he hit the state of emergency, we would have had to been called back to session and to make any changes. And then, of course, we're in the minority, so we're short 7 votes on the House side on every issue. And so if we got called back, we would have been overrun. So I do not think they were constitutional. And I think if you choose to wear a mask or you choose to get a shot, it's your decision. It's your health.
I agree on that point. Speaking from personal perspective, I will say that, the community that in the Yakima community and especially our tribal community, we lost a lot of, family members, friends, and I do agree it is a personal choice. We do have friends that are very dear to us that, made the choice not to vaccinate, not to wear a mask. I and my family, because of my grandchildren, we chose to get vaccinated. We chose to wear a mask for safety. And, I think it is a personal choice, but I also remember, being young and lined up in the school gymnasium to get the, vaccinations. And so, that was mandated. I didn't have a choice, but I think that we're all entitled to our personal choices, and you live with those choices.
Thank you. Next question.
This question is for the County Commission candidates. Fire District 6 in Dallesport. The Proposition 1 levy was approved by voters in 2020. Apparently, the funds were not collected by the county, resulting in a budget shortfall for the fire district. What will you do to resolve this so that the fire district receives the money that is due to them?
I'm not familiar with the subject, but if I were elected and this was still an ongoing problem, I'd ask for an accounting of what it all looked like. And I know that you can do a special budget at certain points to fill gaps, depending on how much and what for. But if there's money due, then we need to make sure it's taken care of.
Okay. I truly believe that it is like a contract. You know, it was approved, it should be there. As a commissioner, you should follow up, and it's part of the budget, it should be funded. As simple as that. If it was approved, it should be funded. Again, it's one of those things, you know, you kind of catch us a little bit off guard because we don't get to research every single subject that's out there. And I don't know why it wasn't. I would love to find out and make sure that it happens.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for the sheriff candidates. Are you or have you ever been a member of the Oath Keepers?
No.
I second that, no.
Moving right along. Next question.
This question will be for the commissioner candidates. What are your plans for enforcing codes and the conditional use permits?
Matt, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I was going to say which.
Yeah, it doesn't say which code, it just says, what are your plans for enforcing codes and the conditional use permits? I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's kind of open-ended. If it's a code or a conditional use permit, it gets enforced. I mean, I don't know how you would want to answer that, but you would enforce it because that would be my job as a commissioner. So if it's in there, it needs to be enforced.
We do have a new county code enforcement officer. He's working hard and moving forward and doing a good job. I've heard him come in and speak to the county commissioner, so I'm hopeful for his job and where he's going with that. As far as conditional use permits, that's a very big subject, a very wide subject. I think I know what they might be thinking about is that giving the conditional use permit might be taking them out of what that code says they can do, and how would we enforce that? But that's just a guess.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for all candidates. What efforts will you make to conserve the environment?
Let's start with Lorraine, please.
The efforts that I would make to conserve the environment is to, share with, my personal experience and knowledge, growing up and having respect for, our land and our communities. We all take pride as citizens, and I think that the message that I would bring forward is, that we all need to root together to, make sure that our livelihoods are protected, our health, safety, welfare, it's all encompassing. So he raised his brochure over there, but yeah, so I think that, it's important that we all, stick together and communicate. Communication is key in making sure that messages are brought forward. So, and that's what I plan to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we all live here because it's beautiful and the country's beautiful, the air is clean, and we want a healthy life for ourselves and our families. At the same time, as Washington's moving green and it's transitioning, we had a bill this last session that I ran that 147 legislators voted yes on. The co-chair of the Democrat committee was my co-sponsor, and all that bill did was simply ask that as we're transitioning to green, can we figure out how to keep the lights on? Right? We're moving so quickly and so fast, and we're seeing blackouts and brownouts, not only in California and Texas, but also in Tri-Cities and in Washington State. The governor vetoed it, but we'll run it again.
Thank you.
So in the clerk's office, because we're moving to e-filing pretty soon, that's going to pave the way for eventually becoming a paperless court. Currently, the judicial officers like paper documents, so it's going to be a challenge, but that once we get to the next stage of having the electronic documents filed in the clerk's office, then we'll work on being a paperless court, which will save some trees, we hope.
Very similar answer. I want to work with the players that are in the court system to transfer to a majority paperless filing system, providing more documents online that's already being work in progress, getting an e-filing system in place and actually running, and then hopefully facilitating some conversations with the judges to being like, we could do all this on a tablet. We don't have to print 500 pages for a court file.
It is difficult for law enforcement to help the environment in regards to emergency services. We need to respond to calls using fuel, idling our vehicle to continue running our computers and lights and whatnot. But for the Skamania County Sheriff's Office, where I currently work, I've helped it nearly go paperless, so that once we get statements and whatnot, we can scan them into the system and then get rid of those documents because they're scanned in there. So as a law enforcement officer, you try to work your best to help the environment, but it's often hard in our job.
Can you imagine the sheriff's office with electric vehicles? A 2-mile extension cord, or a diesel generator in the back of the pickup, so when it runs out, we can charge it up. Crazy. One of the things that does affect the environment is intentional littering. We see a lot of it, and I don't mean just a few scraps. Sacks of littering in the ditches and stuff. And so what we'll do, we have a work crew that's working that stuff. They'll get idea of that littering. We'll follow it up and cite them.
Well, I'll say it again. I am a big fan of long-range planning, and we are desperately behind on Klickitat County on our 50-year comprehensive plan. We've got to get to that document, and I heard talk that it may be not until 2025. And if I'm elected commissioner, I'm pushing for that document immediately. That's going to protect all of our resources. That's going to define where development is appropriate. That's going to protect our water resources, protect our timber, our ag, and preserve those properties, plus conservation. Thank you.
Well, I should have gone first on that one because very similar. As a commissioner, I would work on comprehensive land use laws, things that would help conserve farmland, green areas, things like that. Also, as we do business developments, we can also bring in businesses that are looking to stay on the greener side of things. And I'm not one to dictate, say, you must be agreeing to work here, because we'd like the jobs too. But look for businesses that would help keep our county a little bit cleaner. Thank you.
I think the auditor's office could help with paperless. In fact, I've built into next year's budget a project to digitize all of our old records to make them electronically available and to minimize paper in the office.
Yeah, that was my only thought in the auditor's office, was the paper issues. And digital helps everybody, helps all departments across the whole county. And as far as I'm concerned, the county is the county. We all work for you, and there's no turf wars. Any digitizing of all documents will help all, the assessor, the treasurer, the auditor. And I do think that is a better way to go. And try to quit using paper where it can be.
Follow-up question for the on that. Do you have any sense of what digitizing costs? Because the other side of all of this talk is the price tag.
I don't personally. I have not looked into it, but I know that the county itself is looking into a new accounting system, and with that will help a lot. We can look into that as well for the saving the storage space that's going to be needed to save all that. I have not.
Man hours for the actual digitizing.
For the man hours for the actual digitizing. Okay. And there may be a special project that we could get, and possibly even a grant.
The auditor's O&M fund has money specifically for projects that benefit the whole county. Digitizing the records that we are charged with keeping falls into that category. I believe we budgeted $25,000 for next year to start that process. It's obviously not something that's going to get done in 1 year. It's a colossal project, but we would outsource it.
Thank you. Next question.
Next question is from Mr. Clifford. What do you mean by constitutionally minded? Will you be a constitutional sheriff? Mr. Songer is very concerned about our constitutional rights as citizens. Will you be as passionate to protect our Second Amendment rights?
Absolutely. I'm not a sheriff yet, so I can't be a constitutional sheriff. That's why I'm constitutionally minded. I worked for Sheriff Dave Brown, who's very constitutional. He has trained his deputies to be that way and to be mindful of the laws passed and any types of violations of the Constitution. And you have to be mindful when you're enforcing the laws so that they're not violating people's rights.
Thank you. Next question.
This is for the commissioners. Affordable housing has become a crisis in our community. Do you have a plan to help our low-income working community overcome the crisis?
Yeah, I will. I don't have a plan. Okay, low-income housing is definitely a need for this community. Okay, or I should say, affordable housing. Let's rephrase that. Affordable housing is more of a concern in my book. We need to figure out a way that we can make affordable housing in our communities. And at this point in time, I don't have a plan. It would be on the developers to come and visit with us, because as a commissioner, we don't develop properties. Okay, that's property development companies who come to us. So I'm open ears to see if we can come up with some affordable housing.
So I would have a plan, and that would be work with the Economic Development Department and get them to put together a task force. This is a problem that we hear about from everybody as we travel our county back and forth. Low income and affordable housing. There are many, many businesses, including the county, right now can't get employees because there's nowhere to live. And we hear it all the time. So a task force diving into it right away would be imperative for me.
Thank you. Next question.
Next question is for all of the candidates. What is the best quality of your running mate? Best quality of your running mate. But I think what they mean is your opponent.
Okay. There. The best quality of my opponent, I believe, is the fact that she has been working in the auditor's office for 6 years.
I would say Joanne is tenacious.
That's a good one. I really wanted to talk about your personal. I mean, we've become friends over this trip, and we have different agendas, but we're both passionate about the commissioners' jobs. We both want the best for the county, so I'll go with that.
And I'll go with, I don't think we have different agendas, and I think we both care for the people of this county, and that's one of Matt's best attributes.
Clifford's a great guy. Seriously, he's a good man. And I even felt so because I also gave him the deputy sheriff's commission in Klickitat County, along with other officers that live in our county, and along with the intertribe officers. I give them special deputies commission. We all work together. And I think Clifford would back this up. If you have a search and rescue situation going on, jurisdiction lines don't really matter. You call on your neighbor, they're there to help out. Following agencies working together. I'd have to say what I know of Clifford, he's a good man, and as far as I know, a very honest man.
I concur with that. But I think one of Sheriff Songer's best qualities is his experience. And nearly any law enforcement officer in the country probably doesn't have the experience that he has experienced throughout his career.
I would say the best quality about Renee is her empathy and her heart for other people.
When Shelby left my office to go work for IT, I was really excited for her because I knew that she had a lot of really good characteristics, and her ability and her quick thinking was going to serve her well in the IT department, and I haven't been disappointed.
That's $5 for the council.
Mine's a little more difficult because I haven't seen her since 2018 when she ran against me again. So I think she's a good mother. She has children. So being a mom is my favorite job in the universe. Much better than legislator or anything else. So.
I guess I met my opponent during the 4th of July parade in Toppenish, and immediately, we started talking about family and coaching, and family is big, in our lives, and so that's one of the things I was impressed with is that, as a young parent, it's good to see that. It makes you feel good because you want families that invest in one another, and I was really happy to see that attribute in my opponent.
Well said, among all of you. Next question, please.
This is a question for the state representative candidates and the county commissioners. Do you believe that the current move to abandon fossil fuels and to go to green energy is really based on sound science, or is it more about government control and regulation of private property?
Let's start down there, please.
I believe it is driven by government. Like I said, I just returned last night from a trip to DC. I attended the Clean Energy Summit. And, that is one of the huge driving forces is, the money that the government is setting aside, driving these issues forward. And I know that there's always room for improvement, and there's other ways to look at, finding energy sources, but they haven't answered all the questions. And a lot of that is, the security and where you're going to put the new waste. You're developing these things, but you have to be able to answer everything. And I did not receive those answers, so I am concerned.
Well, thank you for that question. And again, I think it's more government driven. I think it's causing more and more divide across the country. I think that it goes back to the legislation we ran that said, if we're moving this quickly, can we please figure out how to make sure we keep and boost that grid that we have currently? I think it was Kirkland, they haven't upgraded the electrical grid since the 70s. And there's a lot of people that have moved up in that area since then. So we're just really concerned, and I would say it's government driven. There may be some science behind it as well, and we're happy to listen to those, but we haven't heard enough yet to justify the big move without, like she said, the end game.
Got it. All right. I think leaving fossil fuels is ridiculous at this point in time. When I say that, it doesn't mean that I'm not for green energy, but a business or something that is so heavily subsidized because it can't stand alone on its own is not necessarily a good thing. We have a lot of research and development to do because we have to figure out the actual costs, what we're going to do with the waste, and how we're going to handle it down the road, and not give up what we have currently. That is a very cost-effective way to live our lives.
I have waded in some to the green energy with the things facing Klickitat County from the state, and I have to say that we've got the cart before the horse, and we're headed for a volley in a lot of different areas. And we need to reel it back in and go back to some good sound planning and make a plan and move forward from there.
Thank you. Next question.
I think this question is relevant for the county positions that are being sought after here. County politics is often perceived as pay to play. How would you work to dispel this perception?
That's for all the county candidates?
Right. Well, it says Klickitat County politics. I don't know if that includes Gina and Maureen, but it doesn't seem to me that it does. But
can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. It says Klickitat County politics is often perceived as pay to play. How would you work to dispel this perception?
Anybody want to take a shot? I'm not quite sure. Go ahead.
I'll start. As in an auditor position, everybody is treated the same. Whatever business they have to do is treated the same. There shouldn't be any difference in a person coming in, no matter how much money they have or anything else, to get their business done over anybody else. So that simply would not be, nobody would be treated better than anybody else. And that whole pay to play, to me, that means that if you are, I guess, one of the elites, you don't have to do as many, have as many restrictions or whatever.
Anyone else want to take a stab at that?
Well, I'll take a stab at it because it's kind of why I got in this position in the first place. There's a lot of perception of that in this county. And I don't consider myself being in government. I consider myself being a representative, a voted representative of the people. I work for you, and if I'm doing the things that are for you and what you need, and again, you've got the whole county out here. You've got the rights, the lefts, the middles. If you're working for all of the people, and you're honest, and you're transparent, and you have some integrity out there, you will dispel that myth of I'm doing it for my agenda or something else. So working for the people is how I would approach that.
Move on to the next.
And that's correct, working for the people, and I would do that through our departments with oversight for the departments. I'd ensure that everybody that files applications are treated fair and equally, ensure that planning, all of the departments just follow through with making sure everybody's applications weigh the same. That nobody gets special treatment just because of your name or that you've lived here longer than anybody else.
Shelby, you had your hand up?
I would just reiterate what I said earlier about the Superior Court Clerk's Office is exactly that. It's impartial. It's a neutral place for you to seek justice. So everybody that comes through there, no one should face any type of prejudice. You shouldn't feel discriminated against. You shouldn't have any concerns coming forward regardless of your wealth status, your partisan beliefs, your personal beliefs. Everyone is equal and treated the same.
Can I follow up?
Please.
The clerk's office, we accept the documents that are going to be reviewed by the Superior Court judge. So the clerk is nothing more than the delivery and keeps those documents. So clerks don't have any biases one way or another. We're just accepting the documents, and the judge is the one who makes the decision on the cases that come before the Superior Court.
Let's go to the auditor candidates, and then we'll go to the sheriff candidates. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I would concur with Joanne that as the auditor, we simply follow the rules. We don't set the licensing prices, we don't set the recording fees. So it doesn't matter what your name is, you're going to pay the same $203.50 for the first page of your recording.
Go ahead down there.
Sorry, I turned it off.
Hello. I'm sorry. No. Law enforcement is very simple. Nobody's above the law, period. We don't give a damn if you're a county commissioner, if you're a state legislature, or if you're a law enforcement officer. You violate the law, we're coming after you. It's that simple. Now, we may get the probable cause to charge you, but then it goes to the prosecuting attorney to make the charging decision.
I wish in this room there wasn't county politics. It just makes things a little more difficult. And so that's why when I go around campaigning and delivering my signs, I talk to everybody that wants one, and I visit with everybody, and I try to keep the politics out of it, because in law enforcement, you're out there to help the people, protect people's rights, enforce the law, and just be part of the community so that you can help them when they're in need, whether it's law enforcement or anything else.
Okay. Next question, please.
This is for Sheriff Songer. How can you bring the county together and be the sheriff for the whole county when you repeatedly put down?
Thank you for the invitation. I do believe it was received timely. I just encourage you to vote. You get to choose how you do that, but please vote. Educate yourself with the voters pamphlet. Talk to us, but vote.
Okay, I'll use it.
Sorry. All right. Yes, I did get informed of this in a timely fashion. It was great. I want to thank everybody for coming. Again, please vote. Some feedback on this. I would like to see a little bit of time afterwards that we could visit. You could visit with the candidates and ask questions that didn't get answered or something like that. And then I know there's a lot of questions over here that people didn't get answered tonight. If it's, for example, the commissioner's questions, I'm sure you have both of our numbers. Call us and ask us how we respond. That's okay. You don't have to do one of these forms. You can contact us at any time. Again, thank you for coming and listening tonight.
And another thank you. You did a great job. I was well informed and pre-informed, so it was great. And you had a big turnout, so that tells me you got it out to the people in your community to come in this evening. In closing, I'd just like to say that I would like to have your vote. I look forward to doing this job. I've worked at this for over 30 years, and I feel like I'm at that place in my life where the county commissioner position would give me that springboard to help me really help you get some things done. Thank you.
Well, yes, it was in a timely fashion, and thank you very much for the invitation. Get a chance to address the crowd. Thank all of you for coming. I'm very proud to have been your sheriff going on 8 years. I need to be your sheriff for another 4. So I'm asking for your vote. I realize that I lean a little to the right. People tell me that. But I'll guarantee you, it doesn't matter what your political persuasion is. I will be there to protect your rights and liberties. Period. Thank you.
For the question, I was not notified timely by the Dallesport Community Council, but I was notified timely by one of Sheriff Songer's campaign associates. And so it was timely. My goal, when I first started running for sheriff, I had a different opponent, but this still applies. Why am I here? Because I know that as I go around the community of Klickitat County, they want a leadership change in the sheriff's office. And so I hope to bring that here. And If I get your vote on November 8th, that will happen. Thank you.
Yes, I was notified of the event in a timely manner. I would like to thank you all for having us here this evening. It was wonderful to see such a great turnout. I would say please follow everyone else's. Please vote, get out there, get informed if you're not certain about who a candidate is. Most of us have Facebook pages or are going to other candidates' nights. There's one in Centerville next week. We'd love to speak with you more if you want to ask us direct questions. And thank you again for having us.
Thank you. And to answer that question, I actually was not on the email, and Lou was the one who told me, asked me about it. I had heard about it through the grapevine, and I knew that it was not intentional, that my email had not been included. So I didn't take it personal. I just want to thank all the people who showed up tonight. This has been actually a very informed crowd, asking great questions. And I want to say that, as the clerk, I've been involved with the Clerks Association ever since I was appointed as clerk. And I am proud of the accomplishments that I have done since becoming the county clerk. I've had a list of goals every year, and I have met those goals. I have one more on my list this year to get accomplished, and that is to get electronic filing in place. It's met with a few hangups, but we're back on track, and it will happen. And like I said, I'm proud of my accomplishments, and I have the skills and experience necessary to lead the clerk's office for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. The political process, the election process doesn't work without you. So I really appreciate you taking time away from your families to be here with us tonight. I also want to thank the candidates. It's really difficult to run for office. And I think that hopefully some of you will be sitting on this side of the table, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. It's hard work, it takes a lot, and I'm just really grateful that they stepped up to be part of the solution rather than just complain. So I'm grateful for each of you for doing that. Thank you for allowing me to serve for the last 8 years. I humbly ask for your vote on November 8th. Again, I immerse myself in whatever I do. I was in Walla Walla State Penitentiary for 9 hours a couple weeks ago trying to understand how to protect correction officers, trying to figure out what's in front of me in committee. And I'm all in on whatever I do, and I'm just extremely grateful for you running as well, and for people who step up. So thank you. And I was timely notified by Peter Leon, so thank you for that. And I think it's a great forum. Thank you.
Thank you again for the invitation. I was notified well in advance of this event, and I was looking forward to it. And so I think that the questions that were posed tonight were really good questions, and it streamlines with the mere fact of the purpose that we're all here. We're all here to make a difference and to make changes and to help processes along the way. And I know that by putting myself out here in this forum to serve as a state representative, it's not anything that I had thought of doing before, but I think it's important, and I'm hoping that even through this process and this experience, that other members, citizens, step forward and think about doing this yourself, because we can all make a difference. It takes everyone to make change, and even though there may be differences, we can still find resolve. So thank you again for your time.
So thank you very much. We will end up wrapping up a little bit early, but I wanted to say something as the editor and publisher of the Goldendale Sentinel. I have the pleasure of interviewing and talking with each of the county candidates in the pages of the Sentinel, and it really was a pleasure. It was a remarkable experience, and I wanted to address that in regard to the question about making candidates tonight better. I think having a moderator who the community trusts, whoever that is, have the option to interject a few questions, as I did here tonight, helps a good deal. It allows the opportunity to go into a little bit more depth. Not necessarily, you can't derail the whole schedule, because you do have to keep on trying to make sure that he has sufficient time. And our next step is to interview the other candidates on the state level. So Lorraine and Gina, I'm going to ask for time for, and Chris Corey and his opponent for the next issues of the Sentinel. So, but I'm impressed with all of the candidates. They spoke very eloquently and with great sincerity about their positions. So I just wanted to express that appreciation.
Can we give them a hand now?
Thank you.